So we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Oregon had a massive pickup, and that is Emmanuel Pregnon, who was the #1 interior offensive lineman in the portal. And this was an interesting one when he entered the portal in the first place, D, because was at Wisconsin and then plays at USC. USC was under the impression he was probably going pro after this year, but he enters the portal and Colorado was in the mix because he's a guy who's originally from Denver. Oregon now, though, landing the #1 interior lineman in the portal, and then the #1 tackle in Isaiah World. So, I mean, at a position like offensive line where you're losing some proven players, not sure you can really do much better than Dan Lanning and the Ducks.
Yeah, this was the best interior lineman in the portal by far. Probably the best lineman in the portal. Would it be fair to say there, Pete? I think he was the best lineman in the portal. You look at the quality of Oregon's class. We talk about just pure quality, man. First of all, you get Evan Stewart back, right? So you're not going to get much better in the portal at receiver than Evan Stewart. So you bring him back, right? You bring back Dante Moore. There's always been rumors about Quinn Ewers still. You hear rumors about him potentially being in the mix there, a quarterback. I could see them going with Dante Moore at this point just because of his talent, what he's shown, being in the situation he's in. Mekhi Hughes, the #1 running back in the portal. You get the #1 safety in the portal with Thieneman from Purdue. These are proven, highly productive players who are going to come in and play at a championship level immediately. And then Pregnon, he's a guy that we all thought was going to the pros. I think USC thought he was going to the pros. Then when he decided not to go to the pros, they assumed he was coming back to USC. So for a guy like this to not only not go to the pros, but then go to a team that you compete with in the same conference, in the same coast, that's got to hurt a lot if you're USC. Of course, if you're Oregon, I think back to that Ohio State game, the second Ohio State game. Their offensive line didn't perform as well as maybe people hoped, particularly on the tackles. The right tackle, Cornelius, had a really, really tough time with Ohio State's defensive ends who are absolutely unreal. But the offensive line as a whole, I thought, could have been better. Right? We've seen Oregon play better up front historically, certainly the last 5 years. So I think a guy like Pregnon gets you back to that. He's older. He's extremely talented. Originally from Wyoming, was one of the hot ticket items in the portal when he first went to USC. And he's originally from Denver, Colorado. So people thought maybe Colorado would be in here in this mix, but Oregon, I guess close enough, but certainly in the championship mode said, we are going after the absolute best players in the portal. You are one of them. And you're going to increase our quality, which as we sit here today, and I'm just pulling up the numbers, I think they're by far the #1 team in the portal as far as average player rank. So for those that don't follow the portal as close from a ranking perspective, there's the total portal rankings, which kind of an evolving process, still figuring out how to rank these guys. It's not as easy as high school recruits because they have different years of eligibility, et cetera. But you rank the guys in the portal, and then you have the total portal class rankings, which sometimes incorporate the amount of players you bring in, right? So teams like LSU, Texas Tech, Ole Miss that are bringing in a ton of players in the portal, they're high up in the rankings when you talk about the total class rankings. But Oregon, which only has 9 players in the portal, has by far the highest quality as far as 4-star players in the portal. And the names we're talking about, I mentioned Mekhi Hughes, the running back from Tulane, 1,000-yard rusher 2 times in a row, proven. Emmanuel Pregnon, probably the best offensive lineman in the portal, big-time guard, could have been in the pros. Bear Alexander, super talented defensive tackle, has been around the block, but still has big-time interest. Jamari Johnson, the guy I know you love, Pete, big tight end from Louisville. He'll play right away. Isaiah World, who we did a podcast on, big. I mean, you couldn't draw up the frame better at tackle coming in from Nevada. He's played a ton of football, and I think there's still some upside when you just watch his frame. NFL talent all day. And we mentioned Dylan Thieneman, the all-world safety from Purdue. He'll be an instant all-Big Ten type performer. I mean, he's already been playing at that level in the Big Ten. He'll be an instant all-Big Ten performer for Oregon. So quality-wise, you cannot do any better than they've done. You bring in Dakari Moore, who's going to play right away. You bring back Evan Stewart, who a lot of people thought might be going pro. This offense, let's just talk about the offense. Your running game should be better. I think Hughes is going to give you more production. You got from James this year. Maybe we'll see, but I think Hughes is just a little bit better overall runner. Certainly been very productive. Offensive line, you're losing Connerly, you're losing guys, but you've been recruiting at a high level. Pregnon's going to help quite a bit, and we'll see what Isaiah World can do on the outside. But then receiving, right? You lose Tez, but bringing back Stewart, and then you also have Malik Benson, kind of your deep threat from Florida State and originally from Alabama. But man, Corey Moore is a true freshman. I've used the Jamar Chase comp. He's going to play right away. Dante Moore is going to have plenty of options to throw to in the running game with a guy like Pregnon leading the way from Mekhi Hughes should remain strong, Pete. So, I mean, I don't know what you're seeing with Oregon, but to me, it looks like they're going to be right there in the mix to win the Big Ten this year.
I agree 100%. I think that they're building that roster, even though they're still going hard in the portal. They're building that roster from the foundation up. And Brandon just commented something that I was going to bring up here when you were finished, and he's asking about Deion Sanders and the Cowboys. I have to wonder here, not to get into the whole discussion about that, because I think Deion has a whole lot to think about, right, with this opportunity potentially on the table with the Cowboys. But I'm wondering, because Pregnon being a guy from Denver, and he just made this decision this morning. There was rumblings a few days ago when we first talked about this, that Colorado was the favorite there. I'm wondering, this news broke overnight. Deion has acknowledged it. If that has played into his decision-making process at all.
Let me tell you, if Deion does go to the Cowboys, obviously everyone in the portal in Colorado can jump right back in the portal. To me, the name that jumps right to the top, and I think if you're Oregon, you just lost Josh Connerly, your tackles got beat anyways against Ohio State. Jordan Seaton immediately becomes probably the highest profile player in the portal, probably the highest ranked player in the portal at the offensive line position, ahead of who you just signed in Pregnon. So Jordan Seaton jumps in the portal. And we're kind of skipping some steps here, but this is what happens when the dominoes start falling. What does the Jordan Seaton sweepstakes look like? Because I think Oregon, for a left tackle like that, this plug and play replacing your first round pick, second round pick, and Josh Connerly, I think that is a very, very intriguing fit for a team that's trying to win a championship. And look,
and as Canes Cats Heat 305 said, it was a tough battle for him coming out of high school.
So would it be a situation where, they've been rumored for Quinn Ewers. So I'm not saying that's valid or not, but Quinn Ewers is going to cost a lot of money if he does come back to college. Would you rather just build a wall in front of a Dante Moore, right? You have Pregnon already, but then you add a Seaton at left tackle. Now you're really protecting Dante Moore and saying, hey, you are our guy. You're going to be throwing it to Evan Stewart, to Corian Moore. You're going to be handing it off to Mekhi Hughes. You're going to have this line in front of you. You don't need all this other stuff. That to me is a very, very, very intriguing potential fit for a Jordan Seaton if the dominoes start falling in Colorado. There's a change at the coaching position. But if it doesn't happen, just with Pregnon alone, you've done a heck of a lot to protect your quarterback, because that pressure from up the middle is even more problematic sometimes than the pressure coming off the edge.